Hey guys, welcome back. Chapter 13. So this chapter is titled Differential Analysis, the Key to Decision Making. And so when we're talking about accounting, 611 managerial accounting, things like that, um, what's important is trying to figure out different decisions and different things that we would want to do as management. So one of the first things you're looking at is like relevant cost and benefits. Um, Really costs and revenues that differ between different alternatives. Is what's relevant, what's not. In financial accounting, we say is something both relevant and reliable. It's got to be accurate and timely and mean something. So uh, only the relevant costs need to be considered when you're talking about making a decision. You wouldn't consider a sunk cost to be relevant. For example, let's say that you had a software system out there and that software system was obsolete. Um, you've invested $30,000 in it and the new system's going to cost 40,000. Well, then you're like, well, I've got to consider the cost of the old system to make the decision for the new one. And that's not true. That sunk cost, something you already paid for in the past, you don't consider any of those costs. You only consider the cost of the 40,000, the new system, and what that is in making a decision. You don't consider sunk costs. So another illustration might be like two different supplier options, and so you're only going to look at not what you've spent in the past to get something up and running. Maybe you had to invest in a supplier, you had to put some equipment in their plant. You don't look at what you spent for that. You only look at the difference between each. So other things that we're going to look at is adding or dropping product line or segments. So you're going to assess whether adding or eliminating a product line will contribute positively to the company's profit. So you're going to have to consider things like contribution margin, which would be revenue minus your variable cost, and that contributes to your fixed costs. So that would be something that you look at is for fixed costs are things like rent, the rent that you have to pay. So if you have a widget that you're producing and that widget's $100 and your variable costs are $70, then you have $30 that's contributed to a $3,000 a month rent. So when you sell 100 items, you've now broken even. And that's like contribution margin. $30 profit, you need 1,000 to break even because every little variable cost contributes to that fixed cost. So that's something you need to look at. Also, uh, that's going to help you try to figure out if you can drop a product that has a low margin but maybe a high fixed overhead. I mean, are you really contributing enough to your overhead? Is it worthwhile? So there are other things that are a little more profitable. Maybe we need to focus on this. That is going to help you come up with a sales mix, a product selling strategy in which you focus on other items. Um, Maybe there's 10 different products and products A, B, and C are best. So you're going to tell your sales reps, sell A, B, and C. They're more profitable. We want to upsell them to A, B, and C. So instead of D, E, F or whatever your products are. So this helps formulate your overall strategy as a company. You also have to figure out if there's sourcing decisions and opportunity costs. So the sourcing, should we make a product internally or do we need to buy it from an external supplier? I don't know. We need to look at that. Is it cheaper to make it in house or is it cheaper to make it out of house? We need to consider things like if we make it in house, what's our opportunity cost? Because in economics, your opportunity costs are not all the different decisions you can make. It's the fact that you have one decision that you're giving up. You can like if I have $20 and I can spend that $20 to go to a movie, or I can spend that $20 on a meal, or I could spend that $20 on a football. Okay, so if I choose a meal, then I have to look at what I wanted better, the movie or the football. What was my next best alternative? Because I could have 10 alternatives, but I only have $20. I'm only looking at the difference between choice one and choice two, choice A and choice B. I can't consider all the other things. That's not opportunity cost. It's only the next best alternative. So when we make a product internally or we buy it from an external supplier, we got to figure out what's the cost of foregoing the next best alternative when making those sourcing decisions. So if we manufacture a component internally, the opportunity cost could be the next best product we could produce with those resources. Special order decisions. So what happens when a customer requests an order that is different from a regular pricing or volume? They have a special order. Um, we need to consider, should we produce it? Should we not produce it? Maybe we're used to selling lots of 1,000. This comes in at 30. Well, is it profitable enough to do that? Maybe it's 1,000, and maybe it's we're used to producing, and this is a 10,000 order. Do we give them special pricing to make it? Hey, we know we're cutting a deal, but we're getting a lot of work. So we got to focus on relevant costs and available capacity. If by producing this at a lower margin, are we killing some of our higher project margins? We need to consider things like that. We have to consider the variable costs, the production costs that are going to change with the order. Maybe we have to hire extra people, and that impacts our bottom line. We need to really count that cost in that decision. Um, we need to figure out how accepting the special order affects the regular business operations and pricing. If a customer requests a large special order at a discount price, what does that do? Um, Volume trade offs and joint product cost. We need to understand trade offs in production volume. So, can we shift capacity from one product to another to increase our overall profitability? I don't know. We need to consider it. These are questions you have to ask as a manager. Joint product cost. These costs are incurred to produce multiple products from the same process, and they have to be considered when deciding whether to sell a product as is or process it further. The example would be if we are processing a raw material into multiple products, should we sell them as is or do we need to refine them further? There's also sell or process further decisions. When we need to figure out when to stop processing a product and sell it versus continuing to process it to generate a higher price. Um, are we wasting our time with a segment or a division? Do we just need to kill it? We're more profitable. We can use our resources other places. Don't know. Have to look at that. We have to also focus on incremental revenue versus incremental costs, like that margin, that next. Once we go up a certain level, where are we at? Should we sell a byproduct immediately or process it further to generate more revenue? So at the end of the day, when we talk about differential analysis, this really helps in making well-informed, data-driven decisions that can really impact the company's profitability. The key is to understand how those costs are going to behave and how they impact decision making for various business scenarios. It's really important to identify those relevant costs and apply those principles in real world cases. You're going to hear it further in the lectures this week. Don't forget all your assignments that are due in the announcements. And as always, if you have questions on something or not, it's not really making sense when you hear it from multiple ways, multiple perspectives, just get in touch with me. I will help you. Hope you guys have a great week. Talk to you soon.